Hello, everybody. Welcome to the November edition of Post Pro Res. I'm John Pollock alongside WH Park. We are in the home stretch of 2019. The days are ticking away as 2019 comes to an end. How are you, WH?
I'm pretty good, John. I was saying to you off air, like, we've broken the curse. There's no typhoon hitting us after we record this, so it's nice. I'm kind of glad that it's not something that you and I are doing. Like, there's no butterfly effect of you and I speaking about Japanese professional wrestling that causes like intermittent weather to hit Japan and ruin my weekend. So there's that.
How was the typhoon from your vantage point? Did it directly affect you? How, as we go back to the last time we spoke, that was certainly the major concern going into that weekend.
Yeah, it was okay for the most part. Like, I live in kind of like higher ground, so I didn't have to worry about flooding from overflowing rivers or anything like that. But certain parts of Numazu did suffer a little bit of flooding, not too serious. Like the kind of the areas more north of me and kind of towards the coast got really hit bad, and I kind of feel bad for some of the people who were out for blackouts and train services got literally derailed, and like the New Japan dojo. Not to make light of it, but they got flooded. They got completely destroyed. So I was pretty lucky. All I had to deal with was just like being stuck at home all day. So,
well, we're glad you are okay and that those affected are recovering, because that was certainly a major concern if you were following the news a month ago. We have a lot to discuss on this month's episode. We're going to go through all the latest in New Japan and All Japan with their tag leagues underway. We're going to also go back to the Noah show from a few weeks ago that you attended, and I have gotten to see most of the card. And we'll also chat about some other matches that were on my homework list for the past month, and I've gotten to see. So we have lots of wrestling to discuss, WH.
Yes, let's get to it.
So let's start off going back to this announcement from a couple weeks back, and that was and that kind of dovetails into this past weekend where New Japan returned to the U.S. They had shows in San Jose on Saturday night and then L.A. on Monday. And this is the precursor to New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, where they are going to be setting up an office pretty much attached to their LA dojo in 2020 and are going to be having regular tours in between Japanese tours. So they're making quite the concerted effort. They are calling this their phase 3 of their U.S. strategy. And I guess now that we've had several weeks to look at this, WH, I mean, what do you see as the prospects of New Japan trying to have more of a foothold in what's a really crowded market space in the U.S. for people's attention, and primarily looking at expanding a live event business for the company?
I'm very I have very negative viewpoint about this whole thing, to be quite honest with you. From a talent point of view, like, I don't know why anyone on that roster would be excited about getting off a tour, a 3-week tour in Japan, and then pretty much immediately going over to the United States and wrestling in a different time zone, dealing with jet lag and being there for who knows how long. Like, if the idea is, okay, between tours is like roughly 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, in that 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to wrestle in the United States instead of spending time with your family or just recovering from the wear and tear that you suffer on a regular Japanese tour. And then there's the whole idea, like you said, John, it's a crowded marketplace. I really think they're going to hit a point of oversaturation. And I look to like this last tour, for the King of Pro Wrestling and the Power Struggle. I didn't watch any of that shit. Honestly, John, it's like too much. It's like, why am I going to waste my time watching all these road to shows? There's nothing's going to happen on them. I got enough wrestling of other companies that I will watch. Time is a premium. I don't have the time to watch more New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially if I think it's going to be like just a regular, like a house show tour. Like,
especially
what's the point?
if it's going to be closer to these past shows this past weekend. And like, I watched the San Jose show. You did a whole review of it. I really enjoyed the show. Did it make any kind of difference had I missed it? Not a whole lot. It's it's like a premium house show. That's what I watched on Saturday in San Jose. You did have all the stars. I can't imagine that these US shows are going to be full New Japan rosters. They can't be, but yeah, they need to put some significant names on these tours and then I guess fill it out with the dojo guys. But it's still going to be, certain talent that are going to be required to go on these tours. And I just question if it's like Monday night, the Observer had a figure. They drew 529 people to the Globe Theater, which the Globe Theater is not a big place to begin with, but they're talking about like 2,000 seaters that they're looking to book. Is this the best strategy for growth to just be coming all the way over here, incurring all of the expenses? And I would say if it's going to be shows like we saw this past weekend, I don't know if it's a guarantee they're going to be doing 2,000 people for all these shows. And they didn't on Monday, nor did they book a venue to even look at that kind of demand.
Well, the other thing is they're going to be stretching their booking, aren't they? I mean, like, is this going to be in canon, so to speak, with the Japanese shows? I mean, they booked this show in San Jose, and it's the last advertised, match of Jushin Thunder Liger in the United States, and they put him in a tag match, and he didn't even get the pin in this match. Like, no, it was he lost. He was on the losing end.
Yeah, that was it. Like the entrance was Liger's big spot in the match, and it was primarily the focus more so on Aaron Solo than even Jushin Liger.
I mean, you couldn't book. I don't know. You can switch things around, have Amazing Red fight Liger in a 12, 15-minute match. I think that would have been a great way to send him off in the United States.
Yeah, and that'll be something important because if it's these kinds of shows that people in the US see, like these are the shows we're getting, that's going to make them skippable shows. And then you're in the trap of you're committing to these shows and the audience has already been kind of told that these are not big shows. These are kind of our version of, say, of a mid-tour show that is not the big show of the tour. It's just the novelty of seeing these stars. That's great for the first time in the market, but they're looking now for repeat business, and that does require a bit more to sustain that audience.
Yeah, I also worry about how the fans in Japan are going to react to this. Because the CEO, Takami Obari, he made a point of saying, we're not going to neglect the fans in Japan. This is going to be a compliment to the things that happen in Japan. But the focus is still the Japanese market, which obviously it should be. That's, if they neglect that, if that business goes down, they're going to be in big trouble. I don't think it's going to be received well by the Japanese fans. I think there's probably already, he makes that comment because I think there's already backlash, kind of feedback against the idea of why are you going to take all these guys who, they care about, the wrestlers in New Japan. They care about their heroes. They're used to having this idea that they're going to have this time off, and now they're not going to, a lot of them aren't going to have the time off consistently. So I really think it's an ambitious plan on their part, and I can see why they would want to do it, obviously. I think they're really in love with this idea of becoming the Japanese version of the WB and doing this global expansion. I just think they should probably go a little bit slower. My idea would be do 2 big shows in the UK, do 2 big shows in North America, maybe 1 in the United States, and maybe eventually do 1 in Canada as well. And I think you and I talked about this before. The Copper Box would be an awesome site for a G1 show.
That's where I would do the first night next year. Yeah. I just thought that venue was awesome. The crowd was fantastic. That would be honestly, I feel if you're just looking for added live event revenue, yes, there is the idea of having a further foothold in the US market. To me, the UK seems like I think it would do some damage to the existing promotions in the UK, but if New Japan through RevPro made that much more of a frequent stop for them, I think they'd be received much better and in higher numbers than I think they're going to experience here unless they have a vastly increased strategy of what these shows are going to entail, because I just see this as you're going to be incurring a ton of cost, and it's going to be to come over here and wrestling in front of 500 to 1,500 people.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And like I said, I think the big thing will be, the effect on talent and like oversaturation. Like people are just not going to think it's special anymore, and they're not going to go. I'm sorry, they're not. They're going to just think, well, I could watch this total English product in WWE or in AEW, and here's the other thing is like this definitely confirms that there's not going to be really any foreseeable partnership between, AEW and New Japan, because now New Japan is their direct competitor in the United States market.
Yeah, there's no incentive now for AEW to sit down at the table with them. It puts New Japan in a unique spot here in the US that you've certainly distanced yourselves from Ring of Honor, and it seems that they are just going it alone now in the US. It seems like there is a thread of a connection now with Ring of Honor. It sounds like it's not been completely, or at least formally disintegrated, but we're seeing New Japan's strategy that they're just kind of coming in on their own. And another topic is like their television situation on Access TV now that comes with its own political hurdles, because Anthem Sports, the parent company to Impact Wrestling, now owns Access TV, and New Japan is there for another year until January of 2021. And I think New Japan ultimately, like if you want to make a noticeable amount of revenue coming from the US, it's going to be through television rights and not doing essentially house shows here, and by adding to that live event amount that you're doing.
Yeah, I just think the costs are not gonna not gonna be worth what little profits they're gonna actually generate. Because I think maybe at first they might generate some profits at first, the novelty of it all, but after 6 months, and people realize, well, these aren't really special shows that you're giving us outside of maybe a show in Texas, or maybe a show in like a bigger market in the Northeast like Philadelphia, or New York or something like that, then it's just not going to work. I'm very pessimistic about the whole thing, John.
Do you think, last thing on this topic, do you think that Impact stands to have leverage here, that they could somehow work their way into working with New Japan? Because from a strategic standpoint, that one does make sense for New Japan, but that again is getting over the feelings of the past Impact regime, that New Japan has seemed extremely reticent to have anything to do with Impact Wrestling, but now there is a commonality in their broadcaster.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that, Impact and Access TV can, and Anthem can go to New Japan and say, listen, we know you have problems with TNA. We're not TNA. Those people are gone. We can do some stuff, and maybe they're going to dangle the carrot of, being on Access TV as, kind of an incentive for them to do it. I mean, hey, Kazuchika Okada was more than happy to say TNA, when he was in the ring with Amazing Red on the San Jose show there, John.
Yeah, well, maybe the ice is thawing. It's maybe Impact can ask Dixie Carter to do a public apology on air.
That would be something I would pay money to see, John.
All right. Well, moving on from there, anything just coming out of the two shows? I mean, I would encourage everyone to check out your review with Davis Storm, an excellent rundown of the San Jose card from Saturday. Mondays was not streamed on New Japan World. I'm assuming they seem to film everything, so maybe this will pop up on New Japan World at some point.
I love the length of the San Jose show, John.
Yes, it was great. Easy watch.
Nothing went over, there's only one match. I'm looking at the results. There's only one match that went over 20 minutes, and that was the El Fantasma versus Show match, which was my favorite match of the night.
Best match of the show, yeah.
And that's it. That's the only thing that went over 20 minutes by 23 seconds. Everything else was under 15 for the most part. And I'm like, yes, more of this. Oh. It was so easy to watch. I was like, I can't stand these 3-hour shows with 3 20-minute undercard matches on them. And it's no, I just can't do it anymore.
As I've said a million times, no fan ever leaves a wrestling show or an MMA card and they tell their friend, man, I wish it was longer. And if you do have that feeling, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm sure people in San Jose were really happy, and it could have been, if they extended it by another half hour, they would have been.
This was a West Coast show, and they were done by 10 p.m. You still have your evening. I mean, Yes. I'm a big fan of the 2.5 to 3 hour show. I will always push for that.
It just proves you don't need to have a 3 hour, like more than a 3 hour show to have an entertaining product that are going to satisfy fans and make them probably want to come back for more.
What are the most consistently excellent series of cards that have failed to have a bad show to date? It's TakeOver. And they top out at 3 hours. And they're usually 2.5. And nobody ever complains afterwards. That the length is is a big positive coming out of the show, is that they got all of that in a reasonable amount of time, because your audience has a life. They want to do something else with their night beyond spending 6 of them watching wrestling.
Yeah, I don't want to like try to rush to catch a train and stuff like that. I can speak from my own experience this past August, watching TakeOver at the former Air Canada Center. Like, okay, I gotta catch that train back to, Vaughan, where my family home is. It's kind of a daunting prospect sometimes, John.
You didn't come back the next night for SummerSlam.
No, I was not looking forward to doing anything more than TakeOver in regards to the WWE, John. Like, you can, like, even if, like, say you got me a free ticket and said, like, and here's $50, you can get a bag of popcorn, I would say, no, I'm not fucking doing that.
Moving on over, another story over the last couple of weeks was the purchase of Stardom by Bushiroad, the parent company of New Japan Pro Wrestling. This was announced back in the middle of October, actually, but you and I have not had a chance to speak about this. I look at this from all different angles, and sometimes just like the headline of a major company buying out a smaller outfit, you kind of have your concerns. What will this mean for the smaller company? In this one, I don't see much risk for Stardom. I think this gives them solid backing. It's not going to wipe out their talent to be replaced by other talent, because it's such a different roster. They're exclusive to one another. So I think that this is a good deal for Stardom. Maybe I'll sound like an idiot in a year or two, but today I look at this and I think that this is some solid footing for Stardom, which I think sometimes people might not realize just how small of a group Stardom really is. It's essentially 5 people working in their front office, and this is, an enormous purchase for Bushiroad to kind of expand their pro wrestling profile.
I think it's a win-win for both Bushiroad and for Stardom. Obviously, like, Rossy Ogawa, the owner of Stardom, felt the same way, because like he rebuffed the advances of the WWE, who, they dangled that carrot, John. They're going to put him in the Hall of Fame
ceremony.
They're going to give him the ring, but he said, but like the story's out there. Like, what were you gonna do with my company? Like, and they said, we don't know, but we can give you this ring. And he said, no. And then Bushiroad said, listen, we have this, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 year plan to expand the company. You're going to still be the CEO, and we're going to raise the profile. Because, watching Rossy Ogawa on The Wrestlers, Damian Abraham's excellent documentary about, professional wrestling across the world. You can go watch that in Viceland. It was great. Like, he is obviously someone who cares about his legacy, and he loves professional wrestling. And I think, Bushiroad presenting this idea, like we're going to grow this company. We want it to be something that is on par for the Joshi scene that what New Japan is for, male wrestling in Japan. And like, that's something that's appealing, and also expand it worldwide. There's this idea that they're going to start, probably doing shows, maybe not in 2020. I can see them maybe testing the waters with some joint New Japan shows, but definitely 2021, I can see a full-blown effort to crack the market with Stardom shows in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, had this gone the other way and WWE had been able to purchase Stardom, how would that have been received by the wrestling public? Like, I always hear about, like, kind of the stigma of an outside international company buying a Japanese property, that's very tough to be able to pull off. How would that have been received culturally from the wrestling fan base? And it would it been looked down upon for Rossy Ogawa to have handed this company over to a WWE, and the future certainly, I think, would have been in doubt.
I think you'll find that a lot of, wrestling fans in Japan are very proprietary of the companies that they support, and Stardom is no exception. I would say maybe there is a higher sense of ownership of the fans to Stardom. Whenever I go to like a live show, especially at Cork and Hall, it's the same people in the expensive seats, John, in the front row. It's always the same people. They have, a lot of emotional investment, financial investment in the company. They're buying all the merchandise, it seems. So I don't think they would be happy with it. I think they like Stardom the way it is. I would assume that maybe to some degree maybe they're very apprehensive about the Bushiroad purchase even.
Yeah, I would say, like, when I say future in doubt, not so much from a financial standpoint from WWE, but in terms of what Stardom is and being recreated in WWE's vision, I think Stardom would be drastically different than what I would assume Bushiroad would be. I think you're going to see much more of a straight line between the Stardom of old versus whatever vision they have. But certainly whenever you have these big acquisitions, it also does come with questions of what changes they see. And they have outlined, they want to take this from get the $2 million a year in revenue is what Stardom generates. And they want to increase this to $6 million by 2022 to 2023. So that's kind of the scope of what Stardom is now and how you get to that higher figure.
Yeah. And like their strategy seems to be is to attract more women fans to their live shows, which would be an amazing thing to see. As someone who's gone to not just Stardom, but other Joshi shows in Japan, it is predominantly a male dominated audience. And I do think that can be intimidating for a lot of women. Like there is a great article from Nikon Sports by someone by the name of Izu Miho Takaba that Striga from the Eastern Layer kind of translated on Twitter. And the writer like opened up this Line chat. You and Wei have been talking about the Line app and gathered opinion from about 40 women. And they shared, some of those women shared a bitter experience of going to like these shows that, I felt uncomfortable being surrounded by all these men. Maybe something untoward happened to them. I don't know, but a lot of them enjoyed the product itself, the Joshi wrestling that they saw. And it's this whole idea of like, well, we got to make these environments comfortable. The thing about that, John, is like, you'll find, that entertainment in general in Japan is very segregated along gender lines. Like a lot of entertainment is this kind of entertainment is geared towards women. This kind of entertainment is geared towards men. And usually the divide is the gender of the performer. So a lot of the music acts, for example, that are predominantly young women tend to have more male fans, and music groups that feature predominantly young men tend to have female fans. It's and the same with wrestling, it seems. It's like there's obviously more of a mix at male dominated wrestling promotions like New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, Dragon Gate, but predominantly most Joshi groups are, dominated by men in the audience. And like, I don't know what they're going to necessarily do to kind of bridge that gap. I would assume women only seats like they're doing at Wrestle Kingdom this year. They're going to have to cordon off like entire sections just for women to buy tickets at. And, for me, like, I think Striga and Dylan Fox mentioned this on Eastern Layer. If I was them, I would say the hard cam side, where the side opposite of the hard cam, that should be all women, because you want that on television. It's like, wow, all these women are going to Stardom. I think I'll start going to Stardom too. That'd be cool. And then, broadcast like clips of that on New Japan shows, like on New Japan World, maybe to some degree, but at like New Japan live events, just show Stardom and then just show clips of all these women at the show. I think that would, pique the curiosity of the female fans at New Japan shows.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. They take over control of the company December 1st, and looking ahead to next year of what changes you see, and do we eventually see some integration between Stardom and New Japan? It seems like right now it's just two separate companies being run, but ultimately, like, is there an opportunity there to, at the very least, when there is a big New Japan card, of piggybacking, putting a Stardom show in the same market the night prior or the afternoon of, more of those opportunities where it naturally sends people to check out Stardom if you're already seeking out the New Japan show.
Well, I mean, like, Kidani has come out and he said he wants to create an IWGP women's title, like, down the line, like when Stardom is like, you know, making that $6 million a year. Okay, that's when they're gonna maybe integrate. You know, I don't know if they get rid of all the Stardom branded titles, like the Goddess of Stardom, the Artist of Stardom, the Wonder of Stardom, World of Stardom titles. Like, I think that's very important to the brand. But, you know, they have this belt called the SWA, which is kind of like their traveling world title. Like, it's kind of a hard thing to describe. But, like, if they replaced that,
Storm Wrestling Academy title.
Yeah, basically. Well, it was held by Tony Storm for a long time, so there you go. But, you know, if they replace that with the IWGP women's title down the line, okay, and maybe that's only defended at major New Japan shows. Maybe the winner of that belt is like on Dominion, it's on Wrestle Kingdom, is on, you know, the G1 Climax finals in Budokan Hall. That would be a good thing, but, you know, you keep the rest of the Stardom titles separate. And the other thing he mentioned that I thought was really, really interesting is that he wants to get Io Shirai and Kairi Sane back into Stardom, having come back to Japan, which I'm thinking he's like got this long-term plan of like making it worth their while.
It's I'm sure it's a nice want to have. Is it realistic? We'll find out. I mean, it's going to be probably I'm just looking up ages right now. So Io Shirai is 29, while Kairi Sane is probably 31. Yeah, so she's 2 years older than Shirai. I think it'll ultimately come down to what kind of financial offer that they can make these women when they become available, and how much WWE wants to retain them, which I would say at the moment they are trying to keep everybody. So I would be not shocked, but fairly surprised to see if these women would go back to Stardom. Because I think even Stardom's best case scenario would be to still be a relatively small company in the grand scope of things. And certainly WWE, if it's a financial decision, it's not even going to be close.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they might just, you know, like a lot of people get tired of working in that system and not being pushed to, you know, the level that they feel like they should be pushed, you know, in relation to their talent. So it's an interesting thing. Like, I think this is more interesting to me than New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, John.
Well, we will see. It's going to be an interesting year for Stardom coming up. Let's look ahead. New Japan has made some announcements for both Tokyo Dome shows, January 4th and 5th. So these are the current announced matches we have. On the first night, on the 4th, Okada and Ibushi for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Jay White and Tetsuya Naito for the Intercontinental title. WH, you're going to be there live. You are going to get to see Jay White defending the Intercontinental title. And man, I feel I should just be rolling a video on you, because if Jay White beats Tetsuya Naito at the Dome, I want your real-time reaction to be preserved for everybody.
Okay, that's behind the Patreon though, right?
Oh yeah, we'll have to. That's a pay-per-view. We might have to like go on Fight TV or something for that reveal. Will Ospreay against the returning Hiromu Takahashi for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, and then the 8-man tag with Liger, Tatsumi Fujinami, Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask against Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tetsuhito Takaiwa, and Ryusuke Taguchi. So that's the first night. I guess, lineup so far, is this piquing your interest? And why is Hiromu Takahashi the most interesting part of this card for you?
No, like I'm excited about everything. Like, you know, Okada versus Ibushi. I think once they start their match, it's going to be freaking amazing. And you know what? I'm interested in what's going to happen between White and Naito. I don't think White's going to win. I think the plan is for Naito to face Okada on January 5th. We'll see. I don't put all my eggs in one basket as far as like, Geto's booking
Naito's
goes.
booking, yeah, too.
Yeah. But what is the most interesting thing? Yes, it is indeed the return of Hiromu Takahashi, and he's taking on Will Ospreay. I think that's going to be, I'm going to see, does he have ring rust, John? Like, that's the question with Hiromu Takahashi. And is he going to go crazy, in his match, like he did before his injury? And we'll see what happens. I'm going to say I'm very optimistic that it's going to be Hiromu of old. It seemed like during his return at the end of Ospreay's match with Bushi that he's raring to go. He doesn't care about his own health anymore.
He's still out of his mind.
Yeah, so it should be an amazing show. I'm very excited about the fourth right now, a little bit more than I am about the fifth.
Yeah, the fifth has the winners of the top two title matches, as well as the losers will face off. Then you have Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Chris Jericho and El Phantasmo Taiji Ishimori defending the junior heavyweight tag titles against Roppongi 3K, who just won the Super Junior Tag League.
And I think we're getting the Liger retirement match.
The Liger retirement match will be on the 5th as well. No opponent announced as of yet.
Yeah, I'm racking my brain trying to think of who he's going to face on that night. People are, I think, erroneously saying that it's someone, he said it's going to be someone who he's never faced before. I think I forget who it was, someone kind of corrected that statement and said it's someone, he would like it to be someone he's never faced before, but he doesn't know. It could be an old opponent of his that still can go and have a memorable match with him.
Do you have a short list? Who would be your ideal opponent?
I'm going to say Ospreay because I think Ospreay is going to be, free. He's not going to be the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion after, his match with Hiromu. Or Hiromu. I personally, this is what I would do, John, is whoever is the champion faces Liger on the 5th. Doesn't have to be for the title, but maybe, the champion, say it's Ospreay's I want to face you in a retirement match. I'm even going to put the title on the line against you, okay? Because I feel I'm going to beat you anyways in this match. And then maybe Liger wins it, and then, he abdicates it and they have a tournament for that belt. I don't know. It wouldn't matter, John, because the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title belt isn't really that important in the grand scheme of things as far as their box office goes. So it would be okay to do something like that, I think.
You don't want to see Chris Jericho work twice on the 5th as Super Liger?
John, I think that's just a pipe dream I'm having. I don't think, Chris Jericho is going to be able to get out of his Painmaker gear and then put on the bodysuit, the white bodysuit, and have the match with Liger. Listen, if he wasn't facing Tanahashi, Liger and Jericho would be an awesome match to have for Liger to go out on. Because Chris Jericho is probably the biggest star in North American wrestling right now.
He's red hot right now on AEW. It's going to be interesting to see how much they, what do you see Tanahashi doing on the 4th? Do you see him just being in maybe some kind of tag? Do you see him doing something significant on the 4th? Or do you think all the focus will be on the Jericho match on the 5th?
I think the 5th is his focus. I'm assuming he's probably just going to be in some kind of tag match. Maybe him and Hinari are going to win the tag league and they're going to get the title shot.
Well, that can take us over to the tag league. You put together a phenomenal preview. I always look forward to the previews that you write for these upcoming tournaments. So you can check that out at postwrestling.com, a tale of two tag leagues between New Japan and All Japan. And, I really don't have, I used to always feel that the World Tag League was just always a missed opportunity from New Japan to do something really cool. But then the other part of me kind of has just come to the realization that it's never going to be a big tournament. It's not viewed as all that prestigious, and having a lull before your big shows, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. So maybe I'm being too kind for this unimaginative tournament every year, but I think your sentiments are in line with mine as we head into the annual World Tag League tournament, where I feel by the end of this WH, we could be looking at the prospects of Evil and Sonata winning yet again, having a match with the Gorillas yet again.
You don't think they'd book that again, would you, John? I mean, look at this.
I don't think I can take that pairing anyway. It's nothing against these performers. It's a fine match, but man, I just feel I've watched that match 100 times in the past 2 years.
You're not excited about the prospect of Kenta and Yujiro Takahashi getting a title shot, John. Come on. Look at my in-depth analysis of that team. Poor Kenta.
Poor Kenta is the whole write-up. You know who I would really like to see, and you classified them as kind of like a dark horse pick? Juice and David Finlay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like this team, they're really good as a tag team. I liked the stuff they were doing in Ring of Honor. I liked when they were teaming in New Japan. Like, and honestly, like Juice needs to like recuse himself from that US title scene right now. I don't think it does him any favors.
He's been lost in the shuffle, I think, ever since G1. I think he's just, he had his footing. But I think over the past 6 to 8 months, I think he's kind of just gotten lost in the shuffle. And this tag division, goddamn, does it need some fresh blood. And these two, I think, would stand out a lot more as a tag team right now rather than individuals.
Oh, and I think David Finlay could use this shot in the arm that teaming with Juice would bring him. These guys have excellent chemistry, but the whole division really is up for grabs for that one like team that just like takes the reins and say, fuck this, we're going to have all these great matches and you're going to have no choice but to pay attention to this. I'm sorry, it's not GOD. It's never been GOD, and it's nothing against them because I do actually enjoy them as a team, and it's not Evil and Sonata as much as I like both those guys as well. And it wasn't going to be, it might have been the Young Bucks if they stuck around, but, they decided to, go to greener pastures. I don't blame them, quite honestly. But, like Finn Juice, I think has that potential to draw attention to themselves and later on split. And then both of them, like Juice is going to be the bigger star, obviously. But Finlay has this chance to kind of get in a higher position. I mean, he can't go any lower than he is right now, John. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's coming off the loss to Lance Archer. I think that, and they're teasing something with Juice and Lance Archer for down the road. But primarily, I would love to see these two be a regular team, at least go far in this tournament. I'm not holding my breath for them to win it outright, but I think it would be just something fresh because I think Evil and Sonata will be very much met with indifference. And, the rest of the lineup, it rounds out Hiroshi Tanahashi with Toa Hanare, Togi Makabe, and Tomoaki Honma, who had won in back-to-back years prior to Evil and Sonata's run. Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi, Kojima and Tenzan, the aforementioned Juice Robinson and David Finlay, Mikey Nichols with Jeff Cobb, Tomohiro Ishii and Yoshihashi, Hiroki Goto and Carl Fredericks, Colt Cabana and Toru Yano, the Gorillas of Destiny, Shingo Takagi and El Terrible, Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi, Poor Kenta and Yujiro, and Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, followed by Evil and Sonata. That is your lineup, WH, as you'll be glued in front of New Japan World for every single tournament match.
No, you change that word new to all, and then you have that correct, John.
Well, that is, typically the much more interesting card, the tag league that All Japan puts out each year, which kicked off this past Monday, consisting of Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi, who we're going to chat about, and their opening night match with Suwama and Shuji Ishikawa, Daisuke Sekimoto and The Bodyguard. The End, Odinson and Perro are back again this year. Takashi Yoshida and Gianni Valletta, Jake Lee, Naoya Nomura, Zeus and Ryoji Sai, Yoshitatsu with Joel Redman, Tajiri and Kai, Joe Doring teaming with Jun Akiyama rounds out the field with Akiyama, a late replacement for the injured Dylan James. So,
John, there's only 10 teams in this tournament. It's amazing. Just the number of teams being less than the New Japan League just makes me so much happier. Like, you can focus on these people. You know what I mean? Like, you can push a particular team and people will pay attention because they're not part of a group of fucking 16 fucking teams out there. It's so amazing. Let's talk about the main event of Korakuen Hall from this past Monday. Next stream, Miyahara, Aoyagi taking on one of my favorite tag teams in the last 2 years, John, the Violent Giants. And you see their ring jackets, John? That's straight out of the Midnight Express from the 1980s. Seriously.
That they were decked out in all their finest gear. And listen to the participants in this match, and I don't think anyone will disagree. To me, this was a star-making performance for Yuma Aoyagi. He was the focus of this match, like all the heat on him and down the stretch. I mean, Miyahara was present in this match, but this was all shine on Yuma Aoyagi, and he was my biggest takeaway from this match. He looked fantastic. Like, All Japan has this nucleus of guys on the come up that, man, they're all going to, maybe not all of them are going to hit at a main event level long term, but man, do they have some unbelievable guys in that position to make that leap, with Yuma Aoyagi, I think, part of that mix.
John, you're going to see these people live in Korakuen Hall.
I'm looking forward to it. That All Japan show, we're going on the 3rd. That's one of the most, interesting shows that I'm looking forward just to see up close and in person.
In Korakuen Hall, John. It's going to be your first time in Korakuen Hall.
That will be our first show that we're going to, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, that's going to be, we're going to go through at the end of the show, the shows that we are planning to hit once Wei and I get to Japan. But this match went 25 minutes, 42 seconds. Featured a fire thunder bomb from Ishikawa onto Miyahara, and then they're double teaming Aoyagi at the end. Just some great double teaming from Ishikawa and Suwama, who hit these shotgun drop kicks, which at their size, really impressive. Saito suplex by Suwama, and Aoyagi gets his shoulder up, and then he counters the elevated power bomb into a sunset flip roll up on Suwama for a 2 count. Suwama recovers, hits the elevated power bomb, and Suwama covers Aoyagi for the pin. 25 minutes, 42 seconds. A really, really solid main event to kick off the Tag League tournament.
Yeah, and the Violent Giants had another match with Sekimoto and the Bodyguard, who are the current Big Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions. And yeah, I think that was on the 13th show. I forget which city. They're all blending in right now, but that's a good match. I do recommend going to All Japan streaming service and checking that match out. I love the Violent Giants, John. They were kind of treading water a little the last couple of months, but man, these last 2 matches they've had just returned to form. I am so excited. I kind of want Miyahara and Aoyagi, or who else my choice. I think it's going to be Lee and Nomura, who are going to be the winners of the Tag League. But listen, if they go with the Violent Giants again, and if they're wrestling like this, I have no problems with it, John.
Yeah, this was a really fun tag match. So this tournament will wrap up December the 9th, I believe.
I have to. Yeah, let me
check. I
check.
have it right in front of me. Yeah, so 19 shows. December 9th is the final show of the tour. So yeah, I think if you're seeking out one of these tournaments, I think the All Japan one is going to be the much more fun, enjoyable, creative tournament in terms of just different pairings and a really great focus on some of the younger talent that All Japan is just building up that much more. Like Naoya Nomura is a phenomenal talent. I'm really hoping he's in a very prominent match, maybe a big match with Kento Miyahara when we go on the 3rd. Potentially. Yeah,
I mean, the thing with we call them Next Stream, right? The original 4 members of Next Stream were Miyahara, Jake Lee, Nomura, and Aoyagi as a quartet. And then Jake left, he formed his own group Sweeper, and then Nomura left because he wanted to challenge Miyahara. He wanted to get out of his shadow, and Aoyagi is the only one who's left with Kento in Next Stream. But there's this whole idea that these guys are the next 4, the next 4 pillars of all that All Japan had in the 90s with Misawa, Kawada, Kobashi, and Taue. It's not going to be like that because I'm sorry, as much as I love Kento Miyahara, he's not Misawa in that era. No, these guys aren't there yet either, but it's the promise of what they could mean to the company going forward. Aoyagi is not Taue. Aoyagi is Jun Akiyama, in my estimation, if we're going to draw the parallel. Kento's Misawa, Jake Lee is Kawada, and Nomura is really a young version of Kobashi, in my opinion. But there's no Taue, parallel, but there is a parallel with, Akiyama, and who's kind of the 5th pillar that we don't talk about, and Aoyagi. And I'm very, very high Aoyagi. He's got this kind of on and off feud with Taichi, right? That's been going on for the last several years, and they're gonna have a match, a tag match. So Aoyagi's teaming with his younger brother against Taichi, and who's his partner? Anyways, they're gonna continue this feud, John, and myself and my old show partner Jojo Remy, we are down for any meeting between Taichi and Yuma Aoyagi. Like, definitely something to check out whenever these two get in the ring together.
All right, let's go through some other big matches over the past couple of weeks. Let's circle on over to Big Japan. They had a card on November 4th at Sumo Hall that aired on Samurai TV, correct?
Yes.
And this
it was on Samurai TV.
This featured Walter coming over to Big Japan, teaming with Daisuke Sekimoto, WH's close personal friend, Daisuke Sekimoto, that
That's right.
He hung out with in Toronto, against Yuji Okabayashi and Yuji Hino. And this one went 17 and a half minutes. And if you closed your eyes and envisioned what a tag match involving Walter, Daisuke Sekimoto, and Yuji Okabayashi with Yuji Hino would look like, this is exactly as it came to life as.
If you were wondering what Walter's chest would look like if it was masquerading as hamburger, man, you would have probably not envisioned what the reality actually looked like.
The scene of just the chops just escalating and escalating, and then Walter just dumping Hino down with a giant boot was just, that was a tremendous sequence. They double teamed Walter with chops, with lariats. All four eventually go down from a variety of suplexes and strikes. And then into the closing stretch, we see Sekimoto with a double German suplex to Walter and Okabayashi. Then another release German to Okabayashi before the avalanche German, and Sekimoto pinning Okabayashi at 17 minutes and 29 seconds. But just pretty much a violent sprint for 17 and a half minutes. This would be like if the 100-meter dash had the batons that you could attack each other with. That's what this was.
Well, the thing that was interesting to me coming out of this match was like how much like more comfortable Walter seems in an environment where he can just unleash his chopping, his striking, his just pure like throwing people around and just bullying them. And he's bullying these men like Okabayashi and Hino, who are massive men in their own right. And he's just like, he doesn't give a shit. He's just like going straight at them. And you can tell the pure joy on his face, John, that he's in Sumo Hall. He's in Japan. He doesn't have to worry about scripts or anything like that. And he's just like having fun. And I enjoy actually his output to some degree. He's one of the few people I enjoy watching on WB television. But my God, like, I'm just thinking, what would Walter be like wrestling in any promotion in Japan on a regular basis? The mind boggles.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Like last week pretty much typified like Walter's 2019. On a Monday, he's in there with Daisuke Sekimoto teaming with him on a Big Japan show. On Friday, he's taping Raw, where he's in an 8-man against Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Street Profits. That's a Monday to Friday difference for Walter.
Wasn't that like only like 6 minutes or something?
Him and Rollins did the singles match that went, really short with the DQ finish, and then that turned into the 8-man that, I don't know how much time they got. You at least got a finish with, Wolf eating the pin on the Raw show. But
I wonder,
Walter is, you just wonder what is 2020 going to lead to with Walter? Is it going to be canceling out more outside dates and focusing more so on WWE? Because I think that the pressure is going to be on for this guy to be a regular on NXT proper rather than just on the UK shows.
Can I just recommend one more match that I really liked from this Big Japan Sumo Hall show? Was a 6-man tag match featuring the Strong Hearts, El Lindemann, T-Hawk, and their new member, Shigehiro Irie. And they took on the team of Hideyoshi Kamitani and the Astronauts, one of my favorite tag teams, Fuminori Abe and Takuya Nomura. It's a 9-minute match. It's really high paced, and it's just, just showcases like the strengths of all 6 members of this match, John. So like, I recommend it to you in private. Definitely, if you have some time, it's only 9 minutes. Just watch it. You're going to enjoy the hell of it. I say that to everyone listening. Go watch this match. Strong Hearts killing it. I think they just had a match with the Young Bucks, right?
Yeah, Lindemann and T-Hawk just did AEW Dark. So that'll be out on Tuesday, and it sounded like it was tremendous.
Yeah, I'm going to actually watch that. I tend not to want to watch Young Bucks matches, but my boys, Lindemann and T-Hawk are in it, John. I got to show my support.
And then you had a live experience going to Noah, one of my favorite show titles of the year, the Battle of Aesthetics.
It was truly a battle of aesthetics, John, like of old Noah and like new Noah, because like the undercard was pretty much classic, like early 2000s pro wrestling Noah with some of the talent they had on the undercard, and like and they featured a lot of their current and new stars, like going forward with this this ownership from Ledette, and like this. And the aesthetics, literally there's a battle of aesthetics on, like they got new title belts. Mm-hmm. They changed like the GHC heavyweight title to the IWGP heavyweight title. Oh, sorry. I mean, just, but anyways, let's get into that show.
So I didn't see the entire card, but I saw a good chunk of it. So, do you want to chat a bit about the undercard? The first match I saw was, the Fujita Taniguchi match. Okay.
So I'm not high on Fujita at all. I think he doesn't do much to put over younger talent. He hasn't done anything, and Noah, since he's come into Noah, to do anything good for any talent there. But he had this program with Taniguchi, who's like kind of this mid-card journey guy in the company. He's got a great look, but he's just never clicked on a high top level in the company. But my God, this was my least, anticipated match, John, really, of the high profile matches. But my God, I loved this match because it was so brutal. And Fujita, bless his heart, I'm not a fan of his still, but bless his heart, he took some big bumps for Taniguchi in this match.
The headbutt in this that cut him open was like, it looked like Fujita did have his hand on the head to absorb it, but this guy got busted open from this, and it just takes me right back to Okada and Shibata, and that's not a compliment. Fujita, for all the talk of like Masato Tanaka, how is this guy still functioning today? Ditto Kazuki Fujita, whose nickname was literally Ironhead. Like, if you go and watch some of his Pride fights, like the damage this guy has taken and is still doing at 49 is pretty insane.
He took a back bump on the apron shot. I was like, wait, did I just see what I saw? And my God, that match was brutal. Like the kicks to Taniguchi.
Oh, the soccer kicks. Oh my God.
He's turtling up, but my God, like I'm up in the upper level. So like, but I can still see very clearly what's happening. And I'm just like, my mouth is agape. Like, my God, they should just do a ref stoppage, like legit, because he looks like he's going to kill Taniguchi with these soccer kicks.
Yeah, this was, the soccer kicks were just brutal, and it sets up the rear naked choke and submits, Taniguchi, as he sells that he's out cold. I don't know. This was like, to me, I was much more, felt more concerned watching this than I did the Jon Moxley Kenny Omega match.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that yet, so I can't comment.
Oh, you're saving that one.
I am. I'm gonna watch I'm almost through.
I'd love to know what you think about the match. Like, I wasn't as negative on it. Way loved the match, and it's drawn praise and criticism, and I don't think that there's a wrong opinion to have of a wrestling match. That's what wrestling is. It is presenting something to the audience that are all going to interpret things differently. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having such divergent views on whether something is to your liking or not.
No, I'll let you guys know what I think about this match.
You can't even, the word filter and WH Park, they just don't even go together.
Listen, none. I have seen some of the most brutal death matches in Japan, John, live. I've had glass land in my lap in Korakuen Hall. And these are like undercard matches. So like, I think I'll have a different viewpoint about watching like an American style death match. We'll see. I'll be very open-minded about it. I'm not going to let my obvious biases like cloud my judgment about this match. I will go into it with an open mind and let you know what I think, honestly.
The next match I saw was the GHC tag title match with Go Shiosaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima against Masa Kitamiya and Yoshika Inamura. Can you tell us a bit about Inamura?
So Inamura is like one of their like rookie guys that he debuted a couple years ago along with who is a Kinya Okada, and like he's kind of just underneath this one guy Junta Miyawaki, I think he's slated for the junior division, but like Inamura is this big beefy dude. He's like going to be the guy I think they're going to strap the rocket to in the next several years. He's kind of like kind of has that Morishima feel to him. And, and I'm very, very high on Inamura. And I think him being put together with Kitamiya, like who's a veteran in the company, and he's, been the tag champions with Nakajima in the Aggression before that team split up. I think it's perfect, John. I think this guy can learn so much working with Kitamiya and taking on Shiozaki and Nakajima and a lot of the other tag teams in Noah. Like, I will say this about Noah. Like, I have a lot of positives about Noah. I have a lot of negatives, but one of the positives is definitely their tag division. I think it's such a rich tag division, and like they treat their tag team titles with respect in this company, John.
I just wanted to note that is there someone with better kicks in the industry right now than Katsuhiko Nakajima? No,
John. The key question is there someone with a better perm than Katsuhiko Nakajima?
I mean, from head to toe, this guy is on fire. He was tremendous. Just the crispness of which he delivered these kicks, like they were just phenomenal. Like Kitamiya is coming at him with a lariat. He kicks out the wrist to stop him. I thought that was like one of the big standouts, and it ended with a delayed brainbuster by Nakajima. And interestingly enough, it is Masa Kitamiya who takes the pinfall at 17 minutes 2 seconds as Shiozaki and Nakajima get the victory.
Can you remember what Nakajima was like 2-3 years ago? Like this kind of white meat baby face, and like he turns heel, he starts smiling with that perm, and he just becomes more aggressive, and he just becomes a dick, John. And it's amazing. Like his GHC title run was very lukewarm and very lackluster, but I think if you want to jumpstart this promotion, really, as much as we'll get to him, Kiyomiya, as much as I like him, I don't think it's his time right now. And I would, if I was booking Noah, I would make Katsuhiko Nakajima my world champion.
Yeah. Nakajima, this is a guy that he is 31 years old and he has been wrestling for 16 years.
He's wrestled everyone in Japanese wrestling, John, because he was he's the protege of Kensuke Sasaki, and Kensuke just took this kid on a tour of every promotion in Japan. He's fought everyone in Noah, everyone who's been anyone in Dragon Gate at the time, people in New Japan, All Japan, like this man's resume. Go look at his cage match and see like his greatest matches. It's a who's who of the last 20 years in professional wrestling, John. It's amazing.
Then we had Takeshi Sugiura and Michael Elgin for the GHC national title that they were going to be awarding to the winner of this match, with Riki Choshu there to present the title to the winner.
Yeah, Choshu's got some kind of ambassador job, like spokesperson job. It's really interesting because he is not someone I associate with Pro Wrestling Noah at all.
No.
But I think it comes through this this relationship that the booker of Pro Wrestling Noah, Nosawa Rangai, has with like a lot of these guys like Fujita, Sakuraba, Great Muta, and Riki Choshu, because like he's worked for him a lot on like Riki Choshu's Power Hall indie shows. It's interesting. Like Leded is on board with kind of like this, I don't know, like branching out to draw talent who don't necessarily have associations with Noah to kind of expand their profile, I suppose. And I'm not against it, but I have my feelings about like the booking like Nosawa does with his friends against people who are Noah regulars, like for example Fujita against Taniguchi, and we're probably not gonna talk about it, but the match where Muta defeats Naomichi Marufuji, which I felt was the wrong call, because Marufuji's never going to get that win back, John. Let's be honest here. Muta's not going to do the job for this guy, even though he's a legend in his own right. But yeah, it's interesting.
He's a judge in AEW now.
That was funny, John. I saw the clip of that where he's the Great Muta, but I don't see the Great Muta. I just see, it's Keiji Muto. What's going on there? Anyways.
They're like, just Just sit here with Dean and Arn for the next 20 minutes. It's like, do I have to do anything? Nope, just sit.
Yes. I hope they got him some popcorn and a Diet Coke or something to buy kill time for himself.
Well, hey, it's a night's work. But yeah, so Sugiura and Elgin, this one went 21 and a half minutes, and man, you could certainly see. I don't know if you had the same callbacks here, but it really seemed like it was very much like an Angle Benoit style of match with some of the transitions here. Like, I mean, some very direct with the crossface counter into the ankle lock, with, the Canadian versus the guy that I think, most people very much saw patterns of between Kurt Angle and Takeshi Sugiura.
Well, I mean, Kurt Angle is one of Sugiura's idols. He's also a guy who had, I think he has Olympic background himself. So, and he used the Olympic Slam as his finisher.
Yeah, the IOC never came after Takeshi Sugiura to change the name of the Olympic Slam.
No, they didn't. They just use katakana, John. So IOC doesn't know what he's calling that move. So even though it's called the Olympic Slam, maybe they think, oh, it's the Olympico Slam. But anyways, yeah, this was a great match. I really enjoyed this match a lot. I definitely saw the parallels between the Angle Benoit match from the Royal Rumble during the closing stretch of this. But yeah, Sugiura goes over, which was surprising. You and I both thought, we were talking about this match before it happened, and we said Elgin's going to win this. Gotta be.
Yeah, that's where I thought this was going. I mean, they've got their working relationship with Impact. It's not like Elgin's just coming in for a one and done or anything like that. I think he'll be a regular here. And I mean, to their credit, it looks like they're certainly going to build to a rematch between these two. But man, I thought the teases of Elgin, because he doesn't always bring out the burning hammer. He's very selective with it. But with Kento Kobashi ringside, I thought that was a really cool tease of using that here.
I thought it was funny. I was watching this match and there's that point where Elgin points at Kobashi, who's doing commentary, by the way. And he's pointing at him and he starts going for the burning hammer. So I'm at the show with Jojo Revi, and me and Jojo are just looking at each other and we're just howling with laughter because we're like, you fucking nerd. But kudos to him. It's he's one of his heroes is right there. But we're just we were just kind of banging on him, just laughing what kind of a wrestling nerd Michael Elgin is. But, he had a good match with Sugiura. Good for him. I heard the rumor, John, I've heard a rumor, unconfirmed rumor that maybe Elgin, who's Elgin fighting on the fourth show? Someone big. Oh God, I forgot. Sorry. I'll have to update that on my Twitter maybe later on. But Elgin's going to be on the fourth and the fifth Noah shows at Korakuen Hall, from what I understand, John.
All right. We're going on the 4th?
On the 5th.
5th. Okay, gotcha.
So can I just mention that show very quickly before we get to the main event?
Yep.
As it's called Reboot. That's the name of this show on Korakuen Hall for Noah on January 5th. And they are not announcing anything for this match until the match starts. So no talent, no matches are going to be announced. You're going to find out what's happening as they happen.
Yeah, that's going to be the case with New Year's Dash as well. That seems to be the go-to for companies now. Do the mystery show.
I really think this is going to be their version of New Year's Dash at Korakuen Hall on the 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what this week has become. It's the big show. It's All Japan, that's always a huge show on the 3rd, and now Noah trying to establish that as well. And I think that they're smart to do that. It's, at the point where now such a big percentage are people traveling in, they want to watch a lot of wrestling. So it's best to just, throw your best foot forward during this week. So, main event, Kaito Kiyomiya and Kento for the GHC title. They went very long here. This was a 31 plus minute match. And, with Kiyomiya, he has had the title almost a year now. He retains the title here. What would you assess of Kiyomiya having the championship? Clearly, this is a guy they see tons in. Is he at that spot yet, or is there still growth to be had?
I think if you're a hardcore Noah fan and you really religiously follow this company, then yes, he is. If you're more like me and you're more of a casual fan of Noah, and want to keep up with the company, but just don't have the time to always do that, then no. Like, I feel like, and I like him and I like, I'm fully on board with him getting the title, but I haven't seen any growth in him as a champion. Like, his kind of aura has always been like this underdog. And when he became champion in his first couple of defenses, I felt he still retained that underdog feel to him. And I was kind of hoping, okay, he's gonna transition. There's gonna pivot at some point, and he's gonna become the dominant champion. He's gonna be a champion like similar to what Okada is, similar to what, Miyahara, who are like, the parallels you want to draw with him towards. But I don't see it yet, John. Like, he just has this like kind of underdog feel to him. And I don't want to see that in like a company that's trying to grow beyond what they were from a year ago. And like, I think it's going to come to a point where we're going to have to, like, 2020 has to be like early on. You're going to have to take that belt off him. And like I said, if I'm going to put on anyone else besides him, I'm going to put it on Nakajima, because I think he's ready to be a single star and be the top guy in the company. Kano is just, for me, is just a mid-carder. And he's inexplicably pushed to the top in this company for whatever reason, and I don't get it.
Some of the highlights, I mean, Kiyomiya won with the King's Road, which is a high angle bridging tiger suplex. This guy also has tremendous height on his drop kicks. That was certainly the standout. But man, the double foot stomps to the back of the head, from Kano here were just, something else as well.
I'm not a fan of those, John. Like,
they're hard to watch.
I just, and it seems pointless to have him do these kinds of moves when, at least for me, I just don't buy this guy as a champion, even though he's a former GHC, title holder.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say the match of the show, but, nonetheless, a fine main event, championship match. But I think with Kiyomiya, he's still very much a work in progress, which sometimes when you are trying to create that next star, you try and be maybe 2 steps ahead of your audience, but sometimes you can be too far ahead of your audience. And with Kiyomiya, it's always a difficulty when you're putting a title on a guy for the first time. The guy's got to rise to the occasion. And I think Kiyomiya, I think he's improved greatly over the past year, but those are very big shoes to fill. And that's, I think, a burden that you have in Noah, that you have in All Japan as well. It's sometimes that you're competing against the historical figures that have been in those roles. And that becomes very difficult to be able to create new stars when it's such a high bar.
Definitely. Can I say the big star of this show, John, was the audience? Like, this crowd was super hot from beginning to end. And like, I was just so happy to be part of the electricity that was in the air from these like rabid Noah fans. I'm going to say like probably like 95% of these people are like hardcore Noah fans. And like, I'm the 5% who's not. And it was just so nice to be in Sumo Hall and for this show. Like, they drew better than I thought they were going to draw. And it was a really, really excellent show. And a lot of that has to do with like the excitement of the crowd during the whole show. Yeah,
this was 5,523 was the announced attendance at Sumo Hall. Certainly above what I anticipated Noah being able to draw in such a big building. So that I take that as a win for Noah. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. I was like projecting like 4 to 5, and then they went over that. Like, I mean, I think it was set up to be like 7,000 was gonna, like, the way they set up, because they blocked off the corner sections at the top level. So we kind of guesstimated that to be like each section was 1,000 seats. So if you subtract that from the full capacity of Sumo Hall and the configuration they used, it would have been roughly maybe 7,000 would have been like the top end of the seats they could have sold. And they sold, I don't know what's that, 70, I think they listed 70% of the seats were sold before the show started.
Have I ever told you my idea for an app that I don't have the brain capacity to ever be able to create this? But man, if there's ever an industry that needs it, it's pro wrestling. You can, on your iPhone, you can take a photo of the entire crowd. Like, your phone is able to capture all of these people in panoramic view. How we are not at a stage where we can use an app and instantly see how large a crowd is. to me changes the wrestling game.
Oh yeah, like
no more guessing attendance figures. We'd be able to, like, within like a margin of error of like I don't know, 50 to 100 people, that you'd be able to nail this. I just feel it's got to be able to. This needs to be created in the next 5 years. I'm not going to be the one that does this. Maybe Chris Harrington's going to develop this app, but it needs to be done. You know
who would have really used that app really well back in his day would have been Roddy Piper.
That's why he walks so slow to the ring, WH.
That's right. Didn't
have an iPhone. Didn't have the iPhone 25.
You keep those crooked promoters on their toes with guesstimating. Okay, I count about in the 3 minutes it takes me to the ring. I count like 672 and a half. There's a child here. Okay, I'm gonna talk to Don Owens about that. It might pay off.
Well, we are going to be guesstimating several live attendance figures in January. Can you give myself as well as the audience an update? What shows are we currently scheduled to be at WH come January?
All right, so starting on January 3rd at 11:30 a.m. at Korakuen Hall, we have tickets for the All Japan Pro Wrestling show, and I attended the show this past January on the 3rd, and it was a very fun, very fun show, highlighted by a Triple Crown title defense between Kento Miyahara and Kai. That was excellent. So I'm hoping we're going to get something along those lines. And I think All Japan's looking at it as like, this is kind of like one of their big cards. So they're going to load it up, I think, for us. And I haven't got the tickets yet, John, but I'm very confident that we're going to be going to see a Stardom show at Shinkiba First Ring in the evening, in between lunch, maybe do some shopping somewhere, and then head over afterwards. We're going to have dinner. I don't want to say what our social plans are, because that should be just for our group. But what I'm really interested in, if we get to go to Stardom at Shinkiba, like, I want to see what influence Bushiroad already has starting in January.
Right. Yeah. No, that's, I'm looking forward to it.
On the 4th, starting at 11:30, the real main event the whole week, John, brunch at TGIF's next to Korakuen Hall. It's the post-wrestling Super J-Cast co-promoted meet and greet brunch where, I've
never met the guys from the Super J-Cast, so I'm very much looking forward to meeting them and whoever shows up at this.
So it's 40 seats I've reserved. So it's first come, first serve. There's no waiting list. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. Just be there on time. It's like a la carte. So just order what you want. And each table is going to be responsible for sorting out their own bills. So please keep track of what you order. Please, please, please. And I'm gonna suggest people assign someone to, take care of keeping track of people's bills and like how much they owe and stuff like that. That's kind of what we did last year. It's 2 hours. So from 11:30 to 1:30, we're gonna have that section of TJFs all to us, and it'll be fun. Like last year's was really, really fun. And like, there's going to be more people there, I think, wanting to come. Like you and Wei are going to be there, and like a lot of people we know who are flying in as well. It's going to be exciting. And then after that, we're going to go to this small show at this place called the Tokyo Dome, John. I think it's called Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know too much about that show.
Yeah, it's one of those spot shows on the New Japan Loop.
Yes. On the 5th, we're going to go to the aforementioned Pro Wrestling Noah reboot show at Korakuen Hall in the morning. And then after that, we'll go straight to the Tokyo Dome again for Wrestle Kingdom Part 2.
And WH can see Jay White leave the Dome with 2 titles.
You might not want me on like any review show you and Wei are going to record after these shows if that happens, John. I might break the microphones. But anyways, on the 6th, thanks to our good friend Fraser Marriott, he has secured us tickets. John, we're going to go to New Year's Dash at Oda City Ward Gym. We're going to see Liger's retirement ceremony, and who knows what else, because, it could be anything. Usually they reserve a lot of their big angles that are going to propel the company throughout the next year at New Year's Dash. And it's going to be my first time at New Year's Dash, actually.
Yeah. It's always a fun show. Again, they don't announce anything ahead of time. And it's, usually you get one big angle on the show and a bunch of surprises. So yeah, who knows what'll be in store. But man, the Liger retirement ceremony on the 6th, I think that's going to be a really cool deal.
Yeah, and I hope you don't start talking about like Rusev's angle, during the middle of that ceremony, by the way.
Yes, that was where I told Wei that when we're in the midst of that, I'm going to remind him that this same industry has produced the Rusev and Lana storyline. That who knows, it'll probably still be going on by the time we go over there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all these shows. And if you are a patron, we're going to be doing a lot of bonus shows that week. We'll also have some free shows up with various reviews. Tons of WH Park. He has been so generous to help us out with securing tickets and joining us for a number of our shows that week. So I look forward to hanging out with you, WH, and it should be a really, really fun week plus in Japan.
You know who I'm also looking forward to meeting for the first time is Martin Bushby, John, from the British Wrestling Experience.
That's right. There is such a slew of people that are coming. Martin Bushby is going to be there. I believe Mark Raimondi is going, if I'm not mistaken. Todd Martin is going. Dave Meltzer is going. I've talked to so many people. It's like, yeah, we're going. It just seems like a huge amount of people in our small world that will all be in a foreign country together.
I'm wondering if I'm going to finally get to meet Dave Meltzer.
You've never met Dave Meltzer?
I've never met Dave Meltzer. Like, the one time I had a chance was at this past January 3rd's Cork and Hall show. I actually went to the washroom and then, like, you know, I was sitting with Chris Harrington and Chris is like, oh, you just missed Dave Meltzer. He came by to say hi. I go, oh, really? Oh well. Maybe I'll see him later at another show. But I did see him at the Stardom show the night, later on. But he was like, he came in late. He drew a lot of attention on himself because he was late, and I didn't have a chance to talk with him. But maybe this coming January, John, like maybe you can introduce me.
We'll make it happen, WH. 100%.
You can introduce me to him like that. So we're done almost everything. There's this one matter though that maybe we should just bring up. Like, someone apparently had trouble getting into Japan.
Oh yeah, you wanted to talk about this, the Kenny Omega story that he had trouble getting in. This was for the recent DDT show, and apparently he's had several issues getting into the country this year. So this being the latest one, but each time he has gotten into the country, and then Harold May came out stating that New Japan has had nothing to do with Kenny Omega's entry problems.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, the story broke, I think, in the Observer. Like, Dave Meltzer wrote about, like, the story and the strong inference was that, like, maybe New Japan is behind, you know, Kenny Omega having issues, like, getting into the country at the airport. And my take on it was, like, you know, there was, like, talk, like, you know, years before that maybe Kenny was a citizen of Japan. But, like, if he's a citizen, there's nothing New Japan could do to prevent him from getting into the country. And even if he's not a citizen, like, honestly, John, like, I'm going to take Harold May at his word because, like, I was thinking about this, like, a lot. I'm thinking, what could they do to prevent him from getting into the country? Does Bushiroad have the clout to call up the Japanese Immigration Bureau and say, hey, there's going to be this blonde guy with curly hair. He's kind of nerdy. Can you just, you know, delay him at the border? We don't know what we think he might be on this airplane at this airport because they don't know his itinerary, John. Like, you know, I don't know what the problem is. The other thing is like, just as a quick, you know, like, tutorial about visas, work visas in Japan, because I live in Japan, I work in Japan.
Right.
Here's the thing: when you change your job in Japan as a foreigner, as a foreign resident, you have to change your visa. You have to go to City Hall of whatever city you live in, whatever district you live in, and you have to tell them, like, my company has changed, so I'm going to have to get my Zairu card. That's what we call the foreign resident card, changed. So it reflects that new information. And depending on what company you join afterwards, you're like the style of what you pay for pension and how you pay your health insurance is going to change maybe. So, like, when Kenny Omega left New Japan, he stopped being a paid employee of a Japanese company. So I don't know. Maybe this is just wild speculation on my part. I have no idea if New Japan is messing
it's
around.
What I thought could have been an issue is that he's not working with a company. He's not under contract to any Japanese company any longer. Could that, and you're coming in on whether it be a temporary visa, no visa. I don't know what his situation is coming into the country now when he's just doing, you know, freelance spots for DDT.
Yeah, I think it's likely that it's a possibility that maybe when he left the country, he didn't, you know, fulfill all the, you know, requirements that one has to do when they leave. You have to do when you leave Japan John, you have to turn in your Zairu card. You have to pay off any outstanding, city taxes you might owe. You have to, close all your, you don't have to close your bank accounts. You can keep those open, but there's a lot of things you have to do. Maybe there's one little thing he neglected to do. Who knows? That's causing him these problems. But I really want to just put it out there that I would find it incredibly, incredulous that New Japan is behind any of his, visa problems getting into the country. That's it.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this month's edition of the show. I want to point everyone to, if you have tuned into this show and you're just saying to yourself, no, the time cannot be up. We need more WH Park. Well, you know what? Sundays are WH Park Day here at postwrestling.com. Sunday morning, we put up the latest edition of Thunderstruck, where WH was joined by Emily Pratt to chat about Jushin Thunder Liger, Brian Pillman from Super Brawl 2 in February of 1992. And looking ahead to next weekend, it is the return of Matt McEwen to the show, as you guys will be chatting Liger, Great Muta from October 96, featuring the appearance of Kishin Liger.
The debut appearance of Kishin Liger, John. It's kind of a couple of weeks too late from, the surprise appearance he made at King of Pro Wrestling. But hey, or I think before that. Anyways, it's a good show. I was really happy to talk with Emily Pratt, who's a writer I really, really respect. Go check her work out over at Uprocks. Just does some incredible work there. And John, I gotta say, some of these upcoming guests that I've already recorded, just fantastic. There's two guys that I talked to in the last couple of weeks. I'll tell you later off air, but my God, you people are in for a treat if you're enjoying this show so far. These guests coming up are just gonna blow you out of the water even more.
Wow. That is the tease, WH. You have nailed it. So I definitely recommend Thunderstruck. It's an awesome series, going back and reviewing classic matches from Jushin Thunder Liger's career, and some great past guests as well, including Benno was on a recent edition. Some great stuff to check out from the great WH Park. So that's going to wrap things up, everybody. If you want to give him a follow, at WH Park 9, that is the number 9 on Twitter, is where you can follow him. And Thunderstruck, it drops every Sunday here at postwrestling.com. WH and I will be back in December. I'm wondering, we're getting to year end time, WH. So we'll have to discuss what we're going to tackle on the December edition, which I imagine will be our last show before our trip.
Yeah, and I gotta probably talk about has the shittiest gear on Braden and Davies' year-end show. I gotta do something for you and Way's year-end show, I'm sure. It's gonna be busy. Yeah, we have to discuss what we're gonna do.
High demand WH Park. That's how it rolls around here. Everyone wants a piece of WH, a man who's I'm getting ready for the celebrity that is WH Park when I'm over there, because I got to see it in Toronto, just how big WH Park is among our audience. You are this mythical figure that no one gets to see over here. So when you showed up SummerSlam weekend, I can only imagine what the reception is going to be like when you're in your home turf, walking into Korakuen Hall and the whole place just stands up. They're like, oh my God, it's WH Park here.
Masaki, he's one of the ushers. Hey, get us our seats, would you, pal? All right, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next month. Goodbye.